Greetings everyone, this is Lodrik and this is the game War in the Pacific Advanced Edition, and this is now the third part of the setup for a Japanese player with some basic information and tactics, how best to start the game and what options a player have, what choices you better do early on and not wait for too long, and all this stuff. So last time we checked the tracker a little and I explained the upgrade chain, and normally we can maybe go there again and discuss first maybe something like there's some other part I maybe skipped first or explain not enough. It's resources. Oh no, I think it's industry global, and if you go then here for a chart, this is my ongoing game with Dojo, so there's here much more information. If you start the game you have here only turn 1, not so many other turns. And in this chart, this is normally what you can check once per week. You can see now, these are the turns, so we are now shortly before turn 70 now already. And you can see with my setup, only that you get a feeling if you watch the other videos, what is changing. I better take this out first. And you can see here, this is the heavy industry points. They're rising, and also the manpower is rising. And then you can always see there's a break, and this happened normally always if I activate reinforcements for my units. Then this reinforcement stuff simply consume manpower, but also heavy industry. No. It's normally always the army asks for supplies, for manpower, for reinforcements, but also equipment always asks for heavy industry point. It's something like money, I would say. It's simply the game use it for if you want to rebuild something, reinforce something. If you only heal a unit, if a unit is, I think, disabled, then you only need supplies and time to heal. But if a unit is really destroyed and you must reinforce the unit, then you consume manpower, heavy industry points, and additionally supplies. And here you can also see this is armament is everything for artillery, anti-aircraft, and infantry equipment. And I never ever increase the production of these two type of arms. You can build additional factories and increase the output, but you can see for the armament, I don't think it really makes sense to ever increase your big. I mean, if you suffer in China warfare a lot, and maybe the Russians enter the war and you have a lot of, you suffer great numbers of infantry units, I don't know, then you maybe have here a problem. But you can see it's more easy to lose vehicles. And I think vehicles are more or less most of time tanks. Can be also trucks, but most of the fighting units, they have trucks plus tanks, and the Japanese have a lot of light tanks. So compared to German Panzer 1, Panzer 2, and the best of the Japanese tanks are more like a German Panzer 3. And I don't think that they really have anything more heavy. So they are mobile, they consume not so many resources, but they lack the armor and the hit points, so they easily gets destroyed. And the consequence is that you simply have always a little trouble to pull points up. So I pull, here you can see more or less this is up to this point, this is here the beginning. I don't allow reinforcements for my unit. So my units was fighting and everything what gets disabled can repair. But everything what gets destroyed, no, it's not coming back. I simply said, okay, I keep 10 or 20 turns. I want pull up with some points. And then I say, okay, then I let the first units allow to get reinforcements. And you can see it's drop a little. Then I give more units, more units requested reinforcements. And I say, okay, take reinforcements. And then you can see it's it drops completely down to nearly zero. Here we can see. We can see? I don't know. Normally, yeah. So in turn 29, we're dropping down to 106 pool trucks or units. Because the game simply, I think, these are vehicles. The game don't separate this. It's simply, I think a vehicle can be a truck, can be a tank, can be a light tank, can be a heavy tank. I think the game simply don't separate this so much. Okay, and here is the Navy and the merchant shipment points. Maybe we can go first. This is the merchant shipment point. You see, I build up, then I increase something, we come near down, then I build up again, and I don't touch the button line, I don't ever touch the zero. And here something was finished, and then I stock up very fast a little of points. So I think next point I must, I already here increase something, but I can increase even more stuff. The problem is that the merchant ship thing is really 90% tanker, cargo ships, and I have so many. It makes no sense normally to speed up them, so it's hard to find something what I really want to speed up now for this merchant ship. The Navy stuff, I don't know. At the beginning, I think I make a wrong calculation. I make here some points and go back, some points come back, and then I realize something. Okay, then I turn too much off to pull something, and then I make a recalculation. I see, okay, and then some. I think this is a carrier. Here's a carrier finish, and here's a carrier finish. And this needs always 1 or 2 turns to set up again. And then you can see now I come down again. I speed up something and now I come down. Then here I must adjust something again. So normally I think 500 points, between 500 and 1000 points you want maybe keep in your stock, and you want to move your line in this. This is the best way. Then you never lose in production day. But you don't must have here 10, 20, 30,000 points in pool, because the pool points will not build something for you. So this is for production only, to get a feeling over time. And this is a resource situation, the first 70 turns, so we are now at the middle of February more or less. So we are now 2.5 months, so let's say 10 weeks or like this. I don't know. Yeah, must be, because 70 days, 10 days, 10 weeks, yeah, nearly. And you can see that I keep the resource level quite stable, and I already can increase. So it's possible for me to ship more resources back to Japan than I consume. It is already positive, I would say. But yet you can also see that my fuel situation getting slowly, but only slowly, more seriously. So I burn fuel. I start with 4.6 million tons, and now we are. Here you cannot get information, but we are maybe at 3.6 million or something like this. So we losing fuel, and we can see there's no way so far to stop this. The crude oil is also falling, so slowly we simply have not enough oil. Oil is still an issue. But the biggest issue you can say is the supplies. These hard drops are normally always investment in heavy industry, investment in A&D or aircraft production, because this is not from a turn. Or I mean, this can only happen if you have a base with a lot of supplies and the enemy conquers this base. But normally this is investment. Investment is the beginning, then after some turns, and here again, here a little again, and you can see it's but even these are the heavy investment stuff, but it's simply going down, and we are now already at less than 2 million supplies and backup. So we don't have unlimited time to find a way to increase our output of supplies. I mean, I did this already because I invest here and here, and at some point I already start to invest in more heavy industry, and so that we can in the long run not still losing supplies, that maybe at one day we can already increase supplies. But if I mean, what option do you have? If you cannot increase your output of supplies, or you're really relying very low on supplies, then the first thing you can do is stop using your armies, keep them in your base, let them rest. Next is don't use bomber force, only use scout planes and fighters. They consume much less supplies. And if it's also not working, then normally the next level step is then don't use your navy force for any bombardment. Bombardment also consumes supplies, and so you start to shut down your war effort to keep your industry running. And this is what I mean. You need keep always an eye on this economy part of the game, or sooner or later you realize all your armies are forced to stop, and it's also very clearly the end of the game. Okay, this is industry stuff. This is a very easy chart and normally easy to understand the situation. You can check here many more where's the resources, what change over time, blah blah blah, but it's at the end always the same. And the other chart I normally use sometimes once per month, not so often because it's not really so important. It's this is how the industry is interlinked. It explains some stuff, but you must know it once, and then you can check it once per month also. Firstly, this is the numbers. This is from the last turn. So the numbers we saw just in the chart is the same here. And you can see here more or less now what is changing and how it is changing. This is our resource center, so our mines. Then you can always see this is a number is the operational mines, and this is a damaged mine. So this 106 mines are still not producing stuff. They are damaged, so we must repair them, and then they will add up here. And then you can see that one mine produces 20 resources. So this number multiplied 20 will produce over 300,000 resources. And this I think is per day. Yeah, I think this is daily. This is really what I always miss. Sometimes they didn't write it's daily or it's monthly or it's weekly, because sometimes it's a little. Here it is say per month, but this is the special stuff. I think the rest is per day. I hope so. And so this is the import. We produce 300,000 resources. This tells us how many resources we have in surplus or we missing out. So you can see the blue number means more or less is the surplus. So we produce enough resources that we can make a slightly overproduction of resources. So from this 300,000, you can also say 148,000, so roughly half of the resources go for the light industry. Then you can also see that we have 9,891 light industry units and 109 are still under repair. So, and this light industry, one light industry asks for 15 resources. And then out of 15 resources, we produce one supply. So one light industry produce one supply and consume 15 resources. So one resource center is enough to support one light industry and to make 5 additional resources. You can also see that also nearly 150,000 heavy resources go for the heavy industry. You can see that we don't have so much heavy industry like light industry, but we have more damage stuff. But even, I mean, these are, let's say, 10,000 light industry, and this is not completely, but 8,000 heavy industry. But this will be 10,000 to 8,000. 10 to 8,000. And they consume more or less the same resources because the heavy industry don't ask for 15, the heavy industry asks for 20. So exactly one resource center is enough to feed one heavy industry. The difference is that the heavy industry produces 2 supplies. So it asks for 5 more resources, but it produces double the supplies. And this is okay, this is already explain why heavy industries have a better efficiency level than light industry, and many people say light industry don't touch it, don't repair it. I say at least I repair it, but I don't produce anything. The only trouble is that the heavy industry also asks for fuel. So we also need to feed for one heavy industry to fuel. So we also consume 15,000 fuel per day for this, to produce this too. So it's not exactly 1 to 2, and then based on the resources it is 1 to 2 based on the resources plus the fuel. But still this is a better value, because only the heavy industry produce heavy industry points. In this heavy industry points you use to pay for the training of pilots, you pay for production of airframes, production of engines, production of vehicles, armament, navy shipyards and merchant shipyards. So, and only heavy industry can do this. So we can see that one heavy industry produces the 2 heavy industry points, and we consume 11,500 heavy industry points, but we can see here that we produce nearly 15,000, so this is a plus. So this is why we produce more and more heavy industry points. And once per month we pay for each pilot is in training, and we have 4,000 pilots in training, so 20,000 heavy industry points. But we're still making a lot of industry points good, so it's not bad. It's so long your land units are not suffering a lot of losses, normally I would say it's more easy to handle this. Because I think land units are really one of the biggest consumption of heavy industry later, or if you have a lot of damage stuff you also need more, or if you ramp up your engine and aircraft production very high, then you consume here also faster more points. To be honest, I ramp up my engine production a lot, but not much my airframe production. Because there is not much, Dojo don't have so much, not so much air force he throw against me so far. In China there's nothing, and then India a little, and Australia a little, but not really some big air war so far. And this is the reason why I normally say I don't must push so many airframes now out. I better try to get upgrade the better airframes, and then I start the real production. But the engines you can start now already. because then you can get this engine boost, and the engine boost I will explain now shortly. Okay, but this is now to finish this. You can see the manpower is coming, manpower pool, but I think the manpower is never really an issue. This 200,000 guys is a lot, and we don't consume so many. And yeah, and this are the supplies, and we producing this 26,000 supplies, but somehow we running out of supplies faster, and more and more and more and more. Nothing's. I mean, the industry not itself. This is no surplus. This is the daily production of our supplies, and we can say we produce 26,798. Only to finish this is the crude oil. So we can see one crude oil produce 10, so it's 10 times this number, so 10,400. And then we see that we all the capacity. If our refinery running on 100%, the refineries normally requested 16,500 crude oil, but we can only produce 10,000, so we lack simply this 6,110 per day. This we burn every turn or every day by day. We burn this oil. We have still stock, but the stock gets smaller. And then we can produce this fuel. Then we also see that this also is minus. And then you have this too. This is based on heavy industry. This is the bigger part, you can see here. But it's also very flexible because of the Portugal family. So it is always can change quickly. So this is a calculation, I don't know, over 2, 3, 4, maybe the last week. And then the game will calculate roughly how many fuel your ships burned in the last week, and then makes roughly a calculation. I don't. So this number can really change depending on how many ships are just running. If you keep your heavy battleships and carriers in the port for 1 week, maybe this will drop. But if you let them run non-stop, then this number is maybe even higher. So, and this is much more stable. The rest are all more stable, but this can really change very fast. Okay, this is maybe the two big charts you want use for industry. This to understand it, and this normally to track it with the chart. This is yeah, now it's open. This and this one. This is, but not every turn once per week is enough to get a feeling for it. And here is only the row number. Again, this is the daily production is always the first number, and this is always the pool. How many pool points you have. Okay. And back for the engine stuff, or the aircraft stuff. I explained last time why you can try to produce airframes in the upgrade chain and aircraft production. And other stuff is this with the engines. I just took this H35. You can see this is the beginning. Turn 1 I had 166 of these engines. And at the beginning it was hard to match it. I slowly go down. But at some point I was able to ramp up the production. And you can see every turn, don't forget these are 2 days, I can roughly get 10 to 15 additional engines. And why I ramp up this pool is the R&D stuff. If you are able to have at least 500, but better of course more than 500, 501 and more engines in your pool, all R&D will double if the airframe will use this type of engine. Means if I can get of this H35 engine over 500 in my pool, every development based on this, so I think here you can see this. Wait, I must touch this again. Wow. Why is now for... Oh, I touched wrong. Okay, now. So, now you can see every airplane is based on this H-35. So every upcoming airplane, or is not already finished, is still under development. And I have this over 500 pools. The ND will simply double. So normally if your ND tool will be successful, it gives you 1%. But if you have 500 engines, then you get double the amount of ND bonus. But it will also consume an engine. So it is not for free, but at the end you boost your R&D and you pay with supplies and heavy industry points. But normally it is worth it if you can do it. But it's only worth if really you produce a lot of airframes with this. So I maybe not try to boost everything to 500. But this is the reason why it makes sense. Try to catch the 500 and stay over 500. You don't must go much over 500, but around 500. And this will simply boost your R&D, and R&D means you can get the next generation airframe faster, means you have you can maybe keep up with the American technology. I don't know if you can outclass them, but at least you can try that your fighters never more in the disadvantage like in reality. Okay, that's for the engines. And here you also can see what unit uses engine. So this is the engine is still under development. I originally says October, so I already saved 1 month. Maybe I can get soon 1 month shorter again. So then you can see here what airplane this is. The only problem is you cannot touch it directly, so you can only see the name. But you normally really better learn out of the name what airplane it is. At least for the Japanese first, and later also from the Americans. The Americans, they have so many that it's more complicated, but the Japanese are, sooner or later you will realize, aha, this is this airplane, this is this airplane, this is this airplane. And then you almost always check, aha. And the H60 is a good engine. You need it for, normally you can say this is the next generation of the dive bomber for your carrier. So this is a carrier based dive bomber. They have the big advantage is more or less that they are a little faster, but they carry the 500 kilogram bomb, and this 500 kilogram bomb is really enough to hurt even a battleship if you're lucky. But everything else in a battleship you will for sure hurt much better than the 150 kilogram bomb is just so, I would say. It's simply just so. And then you get a Night Fighter and a Scout. These are Scouts and this is Night Fighter. I produce them, but not in big numbers. They are simply there for scouting, so that you have special Scout airplanes on your aircraft carrier with more range, they're faster and have more range. They cannot fight, but they find the target, so that your normal bombers can attack and focus for attack, and they can focus for scouting. So, but this is future. If we check this now for beginning, so these are all the engines at the beginning, and then this engine you have, and you can see you have this engine also under production at the turn 1, and I said already you can totally forget this engine because there's nothing more coming for this airplane. You can still see that there's something coming. I mean, this is running, this is float plane. I think all the submarines use this, but the submarines start with this float plane, but this is a short range float plane. I would not produce it. I would always produce only Jack float planes. They have much more range. They're simply better. And so you don't need this engine because you don't want to produce this float plane, and all this other stuff is irrelevant. It's shit. You don't need to ever use it. This engine is super weak. Every airplane with this engine is super slow. So, makes no sense. This one is similar. It's simply an old engine. No one needs this for cargo shipping, for this old kind of bombers. No. And this also is not really good. So simply this engine, there is nothing you're waiting for. You don't need this. This one also, it's an old engine, it's an old airplane, not more really necessary to produce. The H-31 also, I would normally say you don't must produce, you have enough pool. I don't build, I only consume this pool, what I have in the pool, but I don't produce this engine more because there's not more much coming. I really need this. The only stuff you can use here is the Nick, the 45, a small number you can use, but this is the 35. You need only this this one. I don't know why sometimes it's mixed. Don't ask me why. These are this fighter bombers. I'm not really a fan for this. I think they're just so. And the only airplane I really use out of this is this Dina 2. Dina 2 is a good airplane. It's the best recon airplane you can get at the beginning. But I would always try to rush for the 3rd edition. And so you can consume the engines you have, but you don't must produce more engines, and because you will switch soon to the 3rd edition, and the 3rd edition use the other engine, so you don't need then more the engine. So I would also say the H-31 you can also start at the beginning already, say don't produce this more, skip it to something else. The 32 you will need, because in the 32 you need up to the end. Because Jack I will not produce, but you can produce, but this has a better torpedo bombers, so you need them. This one I would not produce because it's a special engine, and only this airplane needs this special engine nearly. So don't produce this airplane, don't produce this engine, they're too special. You can simply start with the 2nd generation, this is okay already. And also the Francis is an important airplane. This is a land-based Navy bomber. And this is a carrier-based torpedo bomber. And you also need this H8 key, the key 1 and the key 2. They are the most important long-range patrol airplane you can ever get in this plane. They are even better than the American. There's really no better airplane for... This is really the best airplane in the war for long-range patrol. This is... The only problem is that they're damn expensive, and you don't have so many squadron can use them. They're a little limited in this. So you don't must produce hundreds of them, but every squadron you can fill with this engine or with this airplane, I would always try. So the 33 is also normally engine you use up to the end of the war. Sometimes more, sometimes less. It's okay. You can see here, this is the 2nd edition used the H-31, but the 3rd one, and this is also the last one, this is much faster. It arrived official first at the beginning of January 43, but this used the 33. So, and you can check again and again and again. The H5 you don't need. forget it. The 34 you need because you will produce normally a lot of Helens and you produce also a lot of Dojos. The 34. So the 35 is always a fighter and you will produce up to the end of the war. This one is too special. It's too special. I would simply not produce this, and it's also nothing too crazy good. This one is also outdated. This is old engine stuff you don't need. This we had already. This one is a only Tony airplane, so if you want to produce a Tony, you need this engine. But the Tony is not so great, and then I would say to one engine only for this one. If you, okay, you must simply say check the Tony. If you say the Tony is so great, then you want the Tony, then you need the engine. If you say you don't need the Tony, then you don't need the engine. So simply. The 44, I told you already, this is so special engine. I don't want it because only these two airplanes use it. So it's simply, I don't want one additional engine factory only for two airplanes. It's simply too complicated. Keep it always simple if possible. The H45 is one of the most important engines you need. You must try to develop this early on and try to get it fast because a lot of advanced George, Frank, Muir, Peggy, also one kind of Francis and Denko, they are all really good airplanes and you need them all for the 43 and late war. This is don't ask me, this is I think a helicopter. The H-42 is I think also too special. You can see only two airplanes. This is I don't know if we need this. Check these airplanes. Rocket. You want rocket and go for it. I don't want it. The H-43 you need. The Key 83, 95, the SAM. You need them all. They are really high-end, very, very good airplanes. The best what of the Japanese can bring in the war. And the turbojet is like a Me 262. It's a copy model. So you can, if you try, but it's super end war. Good. Now I talked about engine. I explained why I want some engines, why I don't want some other engines, and I only suggest something. But it's always better that you check it by yourself. And I explained this again already before, so I think I don't must explain every airplane, why I want to produce it, why not. Check it by yourself, see my other videos maybe, and then you will realize it. Okay, now I can explain shortly with the upgrade pass and show you, because it is I think better to show. So we go for air, and then you better can make it by type. And then we said how to upgrade the plane. Let's go this with the Nate. You can simply, if you want, change the production, because now the Nate is under production, but the Nate is out the class, the army fighter. You don't need this more. It's only a training machine. The Nate can battle nearly nothing, or it will not, just barely survive, and it will not win the war for you. So forget this airplane. So you can normally say now, okay, because I don't want this production, so what I changed. And then you can choose here on the right side whatever you want. And if you see a date behind, then it's the airplane is not developed, so it's not production. If you see no date behind, then this is ready for production. I can tell you that this key 27B have no upgrade path. So it's a single airplane. So whatever you choose, it will always damage your industry, and you will lose 30%, and the rest will be damaged. So you can pick free, because there is no option really. If you want now choose something for production directly, like you want them changed to zeros, or you want more Oscars, because Oscar is an army fighter and zero is a navy fighter. They are very similar, not equal but similar. And then it's production, or you choose something with a date, and then it's A&D. Let's see if we can check this, because yeah, okay, I simply do this now. We have here in Haben, oops, that was wrong. We have in Haben now also a key 27B Nate factory with 10 units per month. 10 airframes per month will be finished here. If we now say no, we don't want this Nate, we want a 0, then it will jump up because of the order. Then you can see now we're producing zeros, but from 10 ready factories it's changed to 7 damage, because 30% are destroyed and the rest is damaged. You can repair 1 factory per turn. So after 7 days we have here now 7 factories can producing 7 airframes per month. Okay, I hope this is easy to understand. If we go now for the Wal fighter, the dive bomber, I can tell you there's 1 upgrade possible. We touch this. Oops, must always touch here again. Oh, no, this is not working. So we must go for D3. What? As long as it's more up. D3. Ah, yeah. Here is a D3A2, and this is a D3A1. So this is an update. We must check this Nagoya. 12 factories. Remember this? We touch the A2 and it's jump out of the list, and it's not more part of this list because it's now A and D. Then we must go here, and then we can say Nagoya D3A2 12 factories, and they are all okay. Nothing is damaged. They can immediately start with A and D. And this is this update chain. If there's a chain and you choose the next airplane in the line, you will never suffer losses or damage factories. Okay. And now, to fully explain this and what the consequence out of this is, we can go for Oscar maybe. We have here now key 43 Oscar 1C. This is the best Oscar we can just produce. The 1B and the 1A is already out of production, but you still have some squadrons, I think 1 or 2 squadrons still using the Oscar 1A and the Oscar 1B, but you produce only the 1C. Okay. The next line of Oscar 43, here's the 143. So you can still switch back to the 1A and the 1B and start the production, but an upgrade chain is always working only up, never down. So if you do this, then your factory will be also 30% lost, and what is left is damage. So it never go backwards, make no sense. So the next in line is the 2A. If I touch this now, this is Meibashi. Touch it. 32. Jump out of this list, go to R&D. 32 factories, everything is fine. Okay, the same like with the dive bomber. Okay, and here the dive, this is the last of the line. There is nothing more coming, so this is the end. But the Oscar is not the end. If I touch this again, I see 1A, 1B, and then we can also see 1C. We can see there's no date because it's ready for production. But if we change back to for production, 30% is lost and the rest is damaged. So we are now under development of the 2A. What is the next step of the 2A? It's the 2B. We touch it. It's jumped not out of the list because it's still R&D. But we can see now we don't develop more the 2A, we develop more the 2B. And still nothing is damaged. And of course, because the Oscar have a very long production line. There's the 2A now. Remember, you cannot go back. You cannot now not more go back. So before you change anything with industry and ND stuff, always save the game. Then do what you want to and make sure that it is correct, and then you save again. Not simply do it because there is simply no way go back. Or you must start your turn at the last save file. So we are now at the 2B. You don't want to go back. So we can have still the 3A. Okay, let's try. Yeah, it's also working. And if this is working, of course, also the Oscar 4. They only call it an Oscar 4. Is working. So if you want, you can more or less in this, with these rules, push through the upgrade to the best possible plane to get immediately, as fast as possible, some R&D tools running on it. To get this airplane faster. But the big point is now here, the Oscar, the Zero, they are really, these two airplanes you can push like this. Most of the other airplanes only have 2 or 3 airplanes in a row, so it will be not so possible to run it like this. And you also must keep in mind, yeah, you push now for this the best Oscar, but the start date is still August 45. Yeah, you can shorten this now, but I think the best possible way to shorten this is 1 year. So you will not get it at August 45, maybe get it in August 44. Something like this. So you invest all this industry for a very long time to get an airplane. Yeah, of course. And then is the next question, you can wait so long, and what you will run in all this time between. So at some point you can say, okay, I skip everything between and I try only to boost the jet fighter, but it is not possible because the jet fighter is a single fighter. So you can do it, but if it makes always sense, I don't know. And because of the jet fighter, then okay, this is what you can do with this upgrade change. This is one topic I must close this. Now we can pick here now anything like this key 94. It's normally arrived at February 46. And normally if you want this airplane now, you can normally say, okay, I upgrade this to at least a 10. But don't go over 30. But 30 is of course always the best. But you must pay here supplies, so you must make sure that you have enough supplies. And the problem is only if I do this now with with 30. Oops, like this. Yeah. So this is now the optimum. Yes, the calculation is running like this. For every factory is not ready for production, so every damaged factory there will be a check. The check is more like the game say success or not success. And the chance to have if the check is successful, the counter will go here one down and here one up, means one factory will change. But so far I know, every turn or every day, maximum one factory can repair. I think this is also for NT. There is a limitation. You can only maximum repair one per day. But every damaged factory will have a check. So if you have only one factory damaged, like, I don't know, or here two, if you have only two factories, there will be only twice a check for the first factory and then for the second factory. And then it's over. Here you have now 30 times the check. And if one of those 30s get repaired, then it's over. So if the first factory is already success, then I think then the game will simply not more checks than the rest. This is one question. This is why higher numbers are normally more successful to ramp up your R&D. First, I would say this. But keep in mind, the R&D will produce only R&D points. Now it's R&D 0%. After there's nothing more damage. So we start with 30 damage, means it's more easy to repair some stuff, but you also will need longer to finish all 30 factories. Let's balance more or less this whole stuff. Okay, and now the chance to have a successful repaired factory is normally based primarily and maybe more or less only on the distance of your actual game date. This is now 7th December 1942, compared to the arriving date of the original arriving date of this airplane. So you can see now we have here now 4 years and 3 months gap. And how it calculates this, I can explain, but simply, if this project is far in the future, it is less likely that the factory gets repaired. So, consequences, it is more easy to get something what is nearby, like this Helen or this second generation of Wal bomber. It's more easy to repair factories. So you can normally try to focus on for airframes are coming close in let's say maximum 1 year in the future. You will get much faster the factories up and produce much faster R&D stuff. Of course, consequences also, if you have not much time left, you can also not produce much R&D points, means you can also not shorten the R&D period. Means you maybe, if the airplane arrive already at August 42, maybe then you only can get here 1 month earlier or maximum 2 months earlier. But if it's so far away and you can, after 1 year, maybe your factories are ready, then they can produce maybe enough R&D stuff that you get the airplane 1 year earlier. So here you only can get 2 months out, but long distance you can save up to 1 year. Okay. And I don't want to tell much more for this because it is simply a little complicated, and it's this stuff. It's simply you planning for the long run or you planning for the short run. But this is, I think, the really important part to understand this industry upgrade stuff. Because it's not really written down so well, and yeah, you need it to know and understand. Also, keep in mind, if you upgrade factories, if you want to repair something, you need for repair always at least 10,000 supplies in the base that the repair can start. And every repair will consume supplies. So if you ramp up somewhere production for engines, for airframes, everything what is production need 10,000 supplies in the base. And you can simply do this always if you this is requested, so the game will always give this supplies per day to let the base stuff run. And if you want more supplies because there are less than 10,000 but you want to upgrade here something, then you add a little more, but this is per day, so we will get now much more supplies per day. And if so, you must normally, if you do this, keep an eye on it that you not have here later 100,000 supplies for no use. You need 10,000 to start repair, but you don't need 100,000. So this is a little. It would normally be better if it's possible to write here how many supplies you want keep in this base, and not tell the game how many supplies you want shipped to this base per day. But we cannot change this, so we must accept this. This is simply a terrible idea for my thinking, because it's far too complicated. It is much better if normally tell the game, I want in this base 12,000 supplies. Ship so many supplies to this base to make sure that every new day we have here at least 12,000 supplies. Yeah, but sometimes we can have wishes for maybe if there's a war in the Pacific 2 coming out one day. But I don't believe. Not really. Okay. And this is now, I think, for the industry stuff important. And now we can, I explained this also, I mean, I explained everything already. Now something for upgrades, because this is one of the last stuff before we can enter the real war. You can normally, if you, what you want upgrade, I mean, first roughly, you have always this option here. If you touch if you touch any ship, then you can have, but not must have, like this. And there's an upgrade, tell you what month there's an upgrade or what year, and then you can say simply yes or no. And you can always check what the upgrade means. But the problem is there's no real compare, so you must check this. Then you touch off upgrade, and then you can see, okay, this is not the upgrade, but you don't see what really changed. It's not so perfect, but you can touch this and then see this has the 3 upgrades for this main carrier. Then you can see that you first get the first upgrade normally only increases, I think, the anti-aircraft. You can go back. So we start with 738, we upgrade, and we get a little more anti-aircraft, and then you can check here that is also changed here. But the second upgrade first will give you the air radar to get alarm for incoming airstrike from enemy forces. But first in April 43. And the Americans have this already like April 42. So roughly you can say the Japanese, they're always 1 year behind the American radar technology. Here now you get better radar, but the American even have one better. Always one generation better than the Japanese. Still, any radar is better than no radar. Okay, this is upgrades, and this is, everyone works like this. but not every ship must have this, so I think they will have now upgrade. Let me think, but yeah. Then some ships they have this, they have an upgrade. You can touch this and see, yeah, this is upgrade. And they have, then they have additionally something like this conversion. So it means this is now a battleship, and this is also a battleship. You can upgrade this for this date, but you also can convert this battleship. You can convert this battleship also to a battleship, but it's another type of battleship, because this is then now a battleship semi scout cruiser. I don't know how you want really call this. This is normally it's lost 2 of its turrets, so less firepower. You have now only 8 guns left. The original setup have 4 more, so 4 front, 4 rear, 4 in center. And the conversion have only 4 front, 4 center. But you get this hangar, and this hangar can now carry 22 scout planes. But scout planes, so not fighter, not torpedo bomber, not dive bomber, they are still patrol scout planes, something like this. So now we have only 3. With this conversion we get. So the main purpose is more or less that these battleships can scout the seas and find enemies more easily, and then try to engage. You sacrifice some firepower, but you get more scout ability. If you want this, yes or no, is another question. You also can always see here what is the cost. If you convert this ship is for 180 days out of service. It needs a shipyard of 40 to start the conversion, and then also if this is finished, it starts with some damage. But I mean, to fix this needs 1 week, maybe more. It is like this. Okay, this is only to explain the difference between an upgrade and a conversion. And now I can simply say one thing, because as you can better start at the beginning. You can always better organize the ships for range or speed, but range is not often better. And then because there are types of ships, this is a type of ship, and they are all the same, but they have different name, but still they are exactly the same. This ships all with 19 speed, they're exactly the same. They're always this type NTL. So it means the rules are all the same. Okay, now you have these tankers, and normally I would say every tanker you can convert to AO, I would convert. Roughly you can say you have less capacity. This tanker can transport 12,800 fuel. If you make out of this an AO, you only have 11,500. Okay. You also lose this ship for 1 month because this must stay in the shipyard. But what you get is 2 different things. First, you get more anti-aircraft stuff, and I think so. Yeah, I think it's only the guns are the same. This is the machine guns, but you get this heavy machine guns or light flak guns. They're not crazy well, but at least you have more firepower, anti-aircraft firepower. And secondary, you get the ability AO can always refuel your task force anywhere on the map. And this is still a flexible ability you better have. A tanker can only refuel a task force in the base. Normally a tanker will go from base to bring fuel, but I think it's also possible if the tanker is in the base and dock, and the other task force is also docked, then you can also exchange maybe the fuel directly. Still, I would say every tanker I can change to AO, I would change to AO. Not all tankers you can change, and you can see like this smaller, but you must check them. Some you can change, some you cannot change. I don't know if you can change AOs to tanker. I think not really, but you have some AOs you can upgrade. So this is a standard AO or pre-war AO, and now you can see, oh, not much anti-aircraft, but you can upgrade this, and then you get also better anti-aircraft, and even a second upgrade, and you get even more anti-aircraft, and you can even get radar. So you get an air radar, so you get always alarm messages if there's an airstrike coming. Not that it really helps you much, but at least you can try. Okay. The big part is normally patrol. I better tell you something here. And we better order this for speed. Yeah, better for speed. Patrol, if you see a patrol ship with a speed of 14, I think they all have also a range of 6,000, there is no other combination, yeah. They are all the same. These are really all the same. All these 14, 6,000 patrol ships. And so, I don't know, it's simply, all these patrol ships you better convert. I would always bring them back to a cargo ship. Not that the cargo ship is crazy good. You can change this cargo ship, this patrol ship has now a cargo capacity of 1,000. If you bring it back to the cargo ship, it gets 3,000 as a little troop transport. And this ship you later can upgrade that it gets much better anti-aircraft stuff. But the main reason why it's not that the cargo ship is much better than the patrol ship, maybe patrol ship is not bad. The problem with this patrol ship type is simply it is have too much victory value. It has a value of 10. And the anti-submarine stuff is simply too shitty. You get an upgrade in April of 44. This will give you a little additional anti-aircraft stuff. But the subcharger are still shitty. These are still the first generation subcharger. This stuff only works in shallow water, this one, but not in deep water. Only if you have luck, you can make a hit here. But normally you can only hunt in shallow water. And this limited simply the efficiency of this ship so much. And yeah, so I only say it's the first week maybe you need this because you're busy, but as soon as possible I would always ask every patrol ship with speed of 14 go back to Japan, or if you can conquer Hong Kong, Taiwan, you can also go, but I think Taiwan have not the capacity because they need a shipyard. I think it was a shipyard. Oh, wait. Convert? No. If you convert in this direction, then you don't need a shipyard. This you can do in every port. So you need 15 days to get this patrol ship back to a cargo ship. At the beginning of the war, you normally not lack cargo ships. It's not that you need the cargo ship, so you don't must do it immediately. But it is more the risk to lose these ships. They're simply too value. This is the same value like a standard good Japanese destroyer, and this is far weaker than a destroyer. But from a victory point of view, it is equal. So I would say all patrol ships 14 change to patrol ships, change back to cargo ships. This is really, I would really say the rest is okay. The rest is simply okay. Okay, what is else important to convert? You can convert a lot more stuff, but the other stuff I simply won't say you better convert. Is I think this one? Yeah. You go to cargo ships, then you make a range, and then you can say the shortest range is 2100. And they are also all the same. You have a lot of them. And you get more, I think. And these ships, they are small cargo ships with a shitty cargo capacity of 170, so you can simply say they have nothing, because this is a cargo capacity is useless. They are super slow, so they are normally useless ships, I would say. But these are very good ships to convert, because you can convert them in 3 or 4 different types. I would say 80% or even more of these ships I would convert to a patrol ship. So you just change this speed 14 patrol ships back to cargo ships, and now you change this small cargo ships to a patrol ship. So you don't really lose patrol ships, you only change them. And the reasons why these are good patrol ships is they are not crazy good for submarine hunting, I would say. I mean, they're not really better, but they have only the victory value of 1. So you must lose 10 of these guys to have the same bad impact like you lose one of these 14 speed original patrol ships. And the firepower is the same. This ship have more or less, if you change it to patrol ship, nearly the same firepower. It is have the same, there's not much difference. The only problem is this kind of cargo ship, if you want to convert it to a patrol ship, you need to have a shipyard size of 5. So you must stay in the shipyard port. But you have in Japan 3-4 big ports with a lot of capacity. And it needs 3 weeks and then it's done. And maybe a little more to fix that engine damage, but after 4 weeks everything's fine. And these ships you can really use everywhere, and if you lose them, then you will say pity. But 1 point is 1 point only. The other option is, but this is only for maybe 10, maximum 20% of this kind of ships, you can change to ACMs. This tender. Because I would say you still lack a little mine tenders, and they are also cheap, and normally every big port you need 2 or 3 of them. You can see this, here we don't have it, where it is. It is here. Oh, yeah. In Osaka, we have 2 ACMs. They simply must stay in the port, not docked. They simply disengage the task force, so that they are in the port and stay there offline. But then offline they are still active for this kind of business. And they simply manage and maintenance the mines you have here. And it really doesn't matter how big a ACM is. It can be a fat ACM with a victory value of 10, 15, or only a ACM with value of 1. It doesn't matter. Every ACM manage and maintenance 150 mines. So these 2 ACMs can handle 300 mines, but we have now here 500. So slowly over time we will lose your mines if we don't bring here 2 additional ACMs. So if you bring here 1 more, then you have 450. This is still a lot of mines. Normally I would say 450 is normally a lot. It's not perfect, but it makes no sense normally to go over 450. I would say 450 is already, from efficiency point of view, enough. Don't go high. But if you won't go so high, always make sure that you have these ACMs. Because if you don't have the ACMs, but more mines, you simply lose mines. And Japan don't produce unlimited mines, so you get so many bases, and mines are normally always important for the port defense. If you have enough mines, it will be very costly for any enemy to attack and bombard a port. You can make an airstrike, but if you try to make a bombardment with ships and you have enough mines, then the risk is high that at least some of the ships hit a mine. And a mine is equally painful like a torpedo hit. So if a ship hit a mine or a torpedo, the damage impact is very similar. Okay. And this is why, and because you don't have so many ACMs and you can get if you have some more, it's not too bad. You can always convert a ship so often you want. So it's not that you must then stick with these guys forever. But I would roughly say 80% change to patrol and 20% maybe to ACMs. Okay, and this is upgrade stuff. I would really say it makes sense to do this. Convert tanker to AO if possible. Convert the patrol 14 speed to cargo ships. Convert this very slow mini cargo ships to patrol ships. And I would also, this is a really important stuff. Normally destroyers, if possible, normally every warship, it's possible to upgrade, always allow upgrade, why not? And there is torpedo boats, I know. Yeah. You have also some torpedo boats. If you have this, this is a little confusing. It's more or less, if you allow the upgrade, the ship will automatically convert to an escort ship. It's something, it's not that it's written down here, you won't convert the ship. It's not an upgrade that it's only changed the weapon layout. It's simply an upgrade, because now it's a torpedo boat. But if you upgrade this ship, it will change automatically to an escort ship. Only to why they did this, I don't know exactly. It's it's not so clear. It's a very complicated game, and maybe these are maybe from different time periods, and then they change it after some time, and they don't realize it. I don't know why. It's still confusing, but it's possible. So this is not possible to upgrade this ship. It's an upgrade for conversion. Done. Accepted. And yeah, I would say, I mean, upgrade it because it's always better. Make no sense not to upgrade. I don't know if they really make it. Yeah. There are some destroyers. There's some destroyers. I would think I can say maybe. I think they are short range destroyers. Yeah. This short range destroyers. Here you have the chance to upgrade or to convert to APD. APD is a transport destroyer, fast troop transport destroyer or transport destroyer. If you want this, I would say it makes no sense because you can change this and then you get a little capacity for cargo and troops. It's very fast. Yeah, it's not so terribly bad, and you can do it. But I am simply no fan for this because this style of transportation of cargo and troops is always something like an emergency situation, and normally I would say I don't want to have an emergency situation. If I have the emergency situation, I already did something wrong. Okay, but you must compare it, so you can say this is APD option, or you convert it. And then you can say that it's first at the beginning of 44, but then you can get out of this ship if this can survive so long, A good submarine hunter with okay anti-aircraft firepower and high speed. The range never changed, yeah, okay, but you can get, and this also have radar. This is surface radar now, not anti-aircraft radar. This is okay ship. The APD, the problem is only if you make a convert, you cannot see the upgrade pass. So this is the other option. Looks nothing crazy. You can see it's slower. You lose speed. You also lose a lot of firepower and yeah. I think the APD you must check here. I think we have some higher. And then this one. And then you can see, yeah, this is the same. You must always check the Mikasa class, and then because these are all class upgrades. Then you can see there's also upgrade coming. Then you get this is one at August 42. There is one upgrade possible. Then you get this kind of ship. So you get, I think, more or less a radar. This is the air radar. And I think this is all. And you get, I think, the better. Yeah, and you get the upgrade for the depth chargers, because this is the shallow water submarine hunter equipment, and if you upgrade this one also works in deep water. So it is normally a good upgrade, and you can get it early on, but then it's end. There's nothing more coming. So in short run you get a better ship. In long run I would say the destroyer is a better one. But it's heavily also it's based on if you want to use this APD fast transport stuff. If you don't really use this, then the ship class makes no sense. But if you want have something, if you have maybe 4 or 5 or 10 of these guys, then you can transport a smaller powerful force fast around, and always try to maybe make sneak attack, try to conquer some bases deep behind the line. But if you want to do this, keep in mind that these are super short range ships. So then you need AOs, because AOs then can refuel these units, and then they can try to attack behind the line if you want to do this. Okay, this is what I want to also say. And then you can see there are 2 different types. So this is a Momi class, and they have simply other layout. You can see the upgrade passes also later. But I would simply not really produce this kind of ship so much. But you can choose. Okay, I think this is first enough for this upgrade. You can always try to go your own way, but I only want to explain why I do something and why I do other things not, and how it works. So this is first enough for today, and I think next time we really can enter my original setup and explain what I do there and why and how it is working out at the end. We can check the combat and see if we win or lose, or yeah, I mean, you know already what is the situation now, but you can see the first months of war and see from my point of view, from the Japanese player of how it was at that time. Anyway, I wish you the best. See you again. Take care. Bye bye. Oops. No. Bye bye.